The Starship Nebula 7 glided silently through the depths of space. In the command center, a deep silence hung in the air. Captain Mira stared into the infinite void of space, her eyes shadowed by a dark and heavy thought. A holographic image flickered on the screen, capturing the attention of everyone on board. Reports from the advanced outposts of the Galath Empire had arrived, and they were horrifying enough to chill the blood of the crew. Standing beside Captain Mira, Commander Arya focused intently on the screen, trying to grasp the full extent of the horror displayed. Is this really real?" Arya murmured, disbelief etched across her face. The image detailed a new chemical weapon developed by the Galath Empire, known as Hydroseraphim. This weapon had already obliterated several planets across multiple sectors, wiping out civilizations in mere days. The weapon transformed all biological life it targeted, bringing it under the control of the Galath Empire. Lieutenant Jax, feeling the weight of this dreadful information, cleared his throat. "Ma'am, this weapon could completely devastate us. If the Galaths target Earth, they could use this Hydroseraphim to enslave us entirely," he said. Captain Mira's voice was low as she asked, "How can we stop this weapon?" "We will not surrender to them." Commander Arya nodded and began to speak. "We managed to acquire a sample of this weapon and have analyzed it. It's highly reactive, but remains stable until it comes into contact with living tissue. Once it does, it immediately transforms its target, rewriting DNA and turning them into something that serves the Galaths." A spark of an idea flashed in Mira's eyes. What if we could turn their plan against them? What if we could use this weapon on them? The officers in the command center exchanged shocked glances. This plan was bordering on madness. Science Officer Lena, alarmed, objected, "Captain, testing this weapon on ourselves would be tantamount to suicide." Captain Mira responded firmly, "I'm ready to take that risk. We need to learn how to control this weapon before it's used against us. If this test is successful, we can strike the Galaths with their own weapon. We have no choice but to take this risk." Commander Arya took a deep breath, closing her eyes for a moment to reflect. "Captain, this could be a one-way trip, but if the plan works, we could defeat the Galaths." In the makeshift lab set up in MedLab, preparations were swiftly completed. The lab was bathed in sterile white light, and Captain Mira stood in the center, her eyes fixed on the vial of Hydroseraphim resting on a metal table. Around her, scientists and medical personnel waited in tense silence. Mira took the glass in her hand, raised it to her lips, and hesitated for a moment. This was a journey with no return. After this decision, nothing would be the same. But she knew she had to make this sacrifice for the future of humanity. As she downed the glass in one gulp, everyone in the room held their breath. No one knew what would happen next. Mira's vision darkened. Her body began to tremble, and moments later, she collapsed. Science Officer Lena rushed to her side and began scanning her body. Her eyes were glued to the screen. An incredible transformation was occurring within Mira's cells. Mira's body was being reconstructed, as if from the inside out. Her DNA, her cells, everything was being altered by the effects of this lethal weapon. But something was odd. Contrary to expectations, Mira's body was resisting the transformation. Lena stared at the screen in disbelief. "This is impossible. Mira's DNA is rewriting itself, but it seems she's still in control." Mira's body eventually calmed, and she took a deep breath before opening her eyes. Science Officer Lena and the others watched her condition with astonishment. Mira raised her hand and gazed at it. Her skin was no longer the same as human skin, but her consciousness remained intact. Captain Mira, with a faint smile, said, "We have a weapon against the Galaths. I can control Hydro-Seraphim. We can use their weapon for our own ends." Commander Arya, in disbelief, exclaimed, "Captain, this is a miracle." Slowly rising to her feet, Mira looked around. "This is just the beginning. We must all work together to stop the Galath Empire. We will destroy them, but we will not lose our humanity in the process. We will do whatever it takes to win this war." As everyone in the command center began to accept the reality that they would be fighting the Galath Empire with this newfound power, a new hope began to grow within them. But in Mira's eyes, there was the weight of the responsibility that came with this power. Would this new strength save humanity, or would it lead them into a deeper darkness? The answer to that question might not be known until the very end of this war.